Nice. Nice. Ooh. Ooh, there we are. Hey, Salt Strong family, in this video, you're gonna see a lesson and really a case study on how to consistently catch fish during the fall. And this is particularly effective for those of us who have busy schedules where we really can't fish all that frequently, maybe once or twice a month, and you don't have a whole day to fish. We just have a short window to fish, but this is a great tactic on how to quickly find the fish, and it's especially effective during the fall season. We're gonna be talking about power fishing, and so in this video, I'll of course talk about the equipment needed. I'll do that at the end, but number one is this overall strategy of power fishing, and it's really about just covering water, right? Right now during the fall, a lot of the fish are spread out. We're talking about redfish, sea trout, snook, flounder. A lot of the fish are spread out, and so it's really a huge advantage for those who can actually cover water quickly, but while also being effective, of course, because then you can just find as many fish as possible and have a high chance of getting on to some feeding fish. Whereas those using live bait or those who are fishing really slow, if you just sit in one spot, you're just simply not going to be able to access nearly as many fish. So for those who can't get out very often or who can't stay out very often, it's really all about just covering water as quickly and efficiently as possible. Most importantly, though, is we need to target the smart spots. So during the fall, what you'll see in this footage is points. Pretty much every time I got to a point, an island point that had structure in the form of mangroves or oysters, ideally a combination of the two, also seagrass, anything other than flat sand. If there's a point during the fall, there's likely going to be some predators nearby. So I was just power fishing, going to the point. So here's the footage. And at the end, we'll talk about the equipment that just helped maximize the results. So here's the spot we started. This is a big point, some current wrapping around it, and we were throwing top water plugs. It's just a ton of fun. You can see both top waters up there at the top. This is where the first fish was caught. Oh, you got one. Almost, oh, we almost doubled. That last one was bigger.
Yeah.
Is that your snook? Yep. Nice. On the board. Almost doubled up on snook. Oh man, they're still right down here. Although power fishing is about covering a lot of water, when you do get some strikes, especially multiple strikes, it is smart to stay there a little bit longer to slow down. So we stayed here a little bit longer, got some more strikes, and both got on the board with some snook to start the day off. Got him. Wow, that's a cool looking snook there. All right, so the first point held some fish, which is awesome. We both got on the board right away and just really kept fishing down the shorelines, targeting points. That was the trend. That is pretty typical for this season. And kept with the top water. Although the sun's starting to come up, this is about a half mile down. Targeting points, this is a point of the island. I can see, I have my GoPro a little bit low. You can barely see some strikes. Here in a second, you'll see some more strikes. And then finally, one hits pay dirt. Oh.
that was like a better one.
Yeah. Oh, there, got him. There we are. That was awesome. Gotta love topwater action. There you are, little buddy. The next fish was just a little bit down the ways. This was a little choke point in between some islands. Tony hooked up another snook. At this point, he switched to a paddle tail. I just kept on with the topwater, and shortly after, this cast got the first good drag puller of the day. Ooh. Ooh, there we are. There we are.
Good one, isn't it?
Sure sounded like it. I couldn't tell if it was a snook or red. Come on. Come on. It might even be a jack or something. They hit it far off the trees and they didn't do a good job of getting under them, so we'll see. I felt good for a second. I was starting to do the turns like a jack, so.
Jack?
That's what my guess, yeah. So unfortunately that wasn't a snook or a redfish, but that jack was a blast, and it had a nice clean getaway there. And so kept fishing down. Again, same thing, I kept with the topwater even though this was getting to about 8:30. Still, the bite was going on. Knocked it out of the water. There we are, got him. Thing knocked it clear out of the water. All right. And he's off. All right, so when fishing the outflowing times, the outgoing currents, look for little creeks like this. Right in the middle of the screen, you can see a small little creek. You can barely see it. I skipped the top water up in there and game on. Yep. Oh, golly, that was a good fish. Unfortunately, that snook missed. That was surely a slot fish. That was a really nice one. And so when that happens, always make a cast. I actually did feel it and it felt me, but it's still worth the cast. Sometimes they'll hit it again. Always worth a go. This time it unfortunately didn't, so we just kept on power fishing down the shoreline. So now we're just targeting points, and this was a big point. We went really fast, then we slowed down for this one, and it was worth a stop. We had some good snook action, still throwing top waters. This was just so much fun getting these pops. Oop. Yep.
Look at yours.
Oh, that's like a better fish. Oh, nice. We're on some fish. Oh, are you serious? Right at the boat. Let's see if we can double up right here together. At this point, the fish were pulled off the trees. They could kind of hear the commotion, and we were just getting all sorts of pops. Oh, you got him. Nice. Ah, that was awesome. Those snook were all pretty small, so we didn't stay there too much longer. At this point, it was a little bit after 9 o'clock and had one more spot to check out. This was about 9:45, and the topwater bite was still happening. Really cool. Oh, that might have been hurt. Oh, I think that's a snook. So I had a couple more casts at that mangrove overhang, and I knew there were snook there. They just weren't hitting topwater at this point. It was almost 10 o'clock, so I decided to make a switch. I switched over to the Slam Shady Bomber. This is rigged on a Haas Helix hook, just to make sure that I can get down under the surface where it's just easier to get strikes, and also has a better hookup ratio. And so I basically have these two lures hooked up on all of my trips if I'm fishing the shallows during the fall. Moonwalker for the morning, and then as soon as the sun's up, switch to the Bomber, and this is the second cast with it, and as you'll see, the switch paid off. Oh, there we are.
Bomber?
Yep. Oh, this might be. Oh,
big fish.
That's a good size.
What is that one? Is that snook?
I think it's a snook. Yeah.
Looks like it's got some size to him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Nice. It's got that Bomber up there on the Haas hook. Legit snook. Nice. Nice fish there.
Yes, it is.
Beautiful fish. Don't have a measuring tape on board, but probably 28 or 29. Whoa, tail walked. All right, so now time for the post-trip analysis. So shortly after that snook was caught, we had to go in. So just a short morning trip, still had a lot of action in spite of some really tough tides. In this case, we had a really high tide early in the morning. It was slowly falling out. It was one of those tides where the water's just slowly falling out. That's really my least favorite time for artificial lures, especially when mangroves, because these fish, at least most of the fish, were pushed up under the mangroves where we just simply couldn't access them. It's the same for marsh systems. But if you target points, there's always going to be at least some predators there ready to ambush prey on the outside, right? Most push in, especially redfish. And so even though this area usually has some good redfish, there just simply weren't any inside because they were all way too far in. Those snook, however, there were still a good amount of them out there on the points, and they were readily taking the lures that we gave. So a couple lessons from this trip. Number one is just this season, it's really all about the points and just moving quickly, right? If you're in an area, if you're going in between one zone, in between the points, I was actually going really fast. I was going like 3 times faster. And in this trip in particular, I did the math. I ended up traveling while fishing, from the trolling motor is 1.5 miles in about 2 hours of time. So that was the overall, the average speed was like 0.75 miles per hour. Just know that in between the points, it was much faster. So I was actually going really fast, still casting, right? Still casting. And then as soon as I got up to a point that looked good, then I'd slow down. I wouldn't anchor, but I at least slow down so we can cover it more effectively. So just make sure to keep that in mind. So as for equipment, right, I talked about the importance of equipment. So first of all, targeting the spots is number one. So like finding the spots is number one, and our fishing club has a ton of stuff for that, like finding spots mastery course, for example. So once you have the spot location down, now it's time to think about the equipment that we're using. So in this case, for at least for me, for power fishing and up in the shallows, meaning anywhere 2.5 feet or less, I basically just use these two. This is what I go with. I'd rarely ever change. If I want topwater, it's the Moonwalker. I had a blast with that this trip. And then if it's subsurface, I'm using a Slam Shady Bomber. This is the 5-inch paddle tail on a Haas Helix hook. This is awesome, right? It catches fish. Most important though, it casts far and it's easy to retrieve and get strikes while having a fairly fast retrieve. So for power fishing, both of these can be retrieved fast. They can both cast far. And so for that reason, they're just hard to beat. Also, they, of course, generate strikes, which is crucial. So this trip, one mistake I did make though is I used the topwater for too long. I got a little bit stubborn. In general, it's smart to use topwater early in the morning. Once that sun's up, that's generally when it's time to go subsurface. The snook just kept striking it, and I was just having so much fun. But when I did finally make the change to the bomber, it literally my second cast, I caught a slot snook. So I kind of kicking myself now, no telling how many fish I missed. And also that slot snook that I caught was in a spot that I literally had casted the topwater like just a few casts prior. But I still had a blast with topwater, so I don't have any regrets. Just know to increase your odds of fish catching as soon as that sun's up. It's tough to beat these paddle tails, and this Slam Shady Bomber on the Haas Helix hook is great. As far as the rods and reels, both situations I'm using fast action rods. They're both 7.5 feet, and I'm using light line on them with light reels. This is all about power fishing. So in both cases, I have reels that are under 8 ounces. The top one here is the Fuego that had the Bomber with the TFO Pro rod, and this other one is the Daiwa Legalis. This is a 2500 Legalis, super lightweight as well. And the coolest part is it's under 70 bucks. And so I have this paired on the slot machine rod. This is a high-end rod that we're coming out with. This is a custom rod that we've been working on for quite a while. It's not available yet, but it will be later this year. And this TFO Pro rod is just one that's just been tried and true, and is just a great fish catching machine. So that's it for the power fishing. Just wanted to do this lesson in a kind of a unique way where we do some teaching while also kind of following through a trip. I thought that'd be a fun way to learn, and I'd be curious to get your feedback too. If you like this type of format, you please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Even if you don't like it, right? Leave the comments so I can make future ones differently. But if you do like this type of format, I'll just make sure to keep doing this in the future. As far as tackle, right, if you need any of this stuff, we do have this on fishstrong.com. At least everything that has been released yet, it's all fishstrong.com. That's our tackle store. I'll put links down below to everything you need. And as I mentioned before, right, it's really about finding the fish. As long as you can just get yourself into some good spots and do that consistently, you're going to be catching fish consistently, even if you don't have really high quality gear. So just make sure to always keep that as priority number one, and that's where our Insider Club can help the most, right? And make sure to go through the weekend game plans. Every Friday, there's a game plan. It's 10 minutes or less. You can just click a button, watch that video, and you'll know exactly which types of spots to increase your odds of catching a bunch of fish and having a ton of fun in the water. Also, we of course have the Smart Fishing Spots platform that you've surely seen that actually shows you on a map which spots are most likely to be holding fish. So make sure to be utilizing those benefits of the Insider Club member platform. Any questions at all, comment down below. Otherwise, hope to see you again soon.